The walls are closing in on Trump's ability to wage war, and this time the resistance isn't coming from political opponents. It's coming from inside his own military command. For the first time in modern American history, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is openly warning a president that launching a strike without allied support could be disastrous. Right now, Trump has exactly 0 major allies willing to back a direct attack on Iran. 0. Except Israel. And that alone tells you everything about how isolated the United States has become under this administration. Before we go further, hit subscribe right now if you want the truth without the corporate filter. We cover the stories the mainstream media avoids every single day. Turn on notifications so you never miss when we break down the next major development. Do it now, because what's unfolding behind the scenes is bigger than most Americans realize. General Charles Kushner, the top military officer in the United States, recently delivered a blunt and uncomfortable message during internal strategy meetings. The message was simple. Without international backing, without staging bases in allied countries, and without coordinated intelligence networks, a strike on Iran isn't just risky. It could be catastrophic. We're talking about shortages of critical munitions. We're talking about serious operational limitations. And we're talking about the very real possibility of American soldiers coming home in flag-draped coffins. Kushner reportedly told Trump that the idea of a quick, clean military victory exists only in political speeches, not in real war planning. Because the reality of attacking Iran is far more complicated. Iran is not a small regional militia. It's a heavily armed state with missiles, drones, proxy forces, and deep regional alliances. And once a conflict begins, it doesn't stay limited. Trump's frustration, according to multiple sources, is growing by the day. He's reportedly lashing out at advisors, at generals, at anyone who dares to explain the limitations of military force. He wants a dramatic show of strength. He wants a quick victory he can sell to the public. But what he's hearing instead is something he hates. Reality. Because military planners are warning him that once the first missile is launched, escalation becomes almost unavoidable. You strike Iran. Iran strikes back. You respond again. And suddenly the United States is dragged into another Middle Eastern war with no clear exit. A war that could last years. A war that could destabilize global oil markets. A war that could cost thousands of lives. But the story doesn't stop with Iran. Because while Trump threatens military action and launches new economic tariffs across the globe, something else is happening quietly in the background. The rest of the world is beginning to reorganize itself. Without America. And leading that shift is an unexpected figure. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Carney is currently traveling across major global capitals. India, Australia, Japan. And his mission is crystal clear. Build new economic partnerships that reduce reliance on the United States. This isn't symbolic diplomacy. This is strategic economic survival. Every new agreement, every new trade corridor, every new partnership is another step toward a world where America is no longer the center of global trade. Carney is positioning Canada as a bridge between continents, connecting Europe's markets with Asia's growing economies, creating new supply chains that bypass the United States entirely. And the strategy is working. Countries around the world are responding positively because they're searching for stability. They're searching for predictability. And right now, they aren't finding it in Washington. What's even more remarkable is the political unity inside Canada. Liberal leaders, conservative premiers, even progressive voices on the left, all supporting the same core strategy. Reduce dependency on the United States. Protect Canada's economy. And prepare for a future where American trade policies can't destabilize their entire system. Ontario Premier Doug Ford, a conservative who normally aligns with right-leaning economic ideas, has been openly criticizing Trump's tariff policies. And his message to Americans has been blunt. 9 million American workers produce goods and services for Ontario alone. Those jobs are now at risk. Because tariffs don't just punish foreign countries. They punish American workers. They raise prices. They disrupt supply chains. And they create economic uncertainty. Ford even said something that stunned political observers. Canadians are openly hoping Democrats win the next American midterm elections. An entire neighboring country, a longtime ally, now rooting for a political shift inside the United States. That's how badly the relationship has deteriorated. And while political tensions grow internationally, the military concerns about Iran are becoming even more serious. General Kane isn't just worried about allies refusing to participate. He's worried about America's actual defensive capacity. Stockpiles of interceptor missiles, the systems used to shoot down incoming threats, are already dangerously low. These weapons aren't produced overnight. They take years to manufacture. If a conflict with Iran erupted tomorrow, the United States would face a serious challenge defending its bases, ships, and personnel across the Middle East. Iran has hundreds of missiles, drone fleets, and proxy forces positioned throughout the region. A large-scale retaliation could overwhelm existing defenses. That's the reality military planners are trying to explain. But Trump continues presenting a completely different story online. In recent social media posts, he claimed that American bombers already destroyed Iran's nuclear facilities, completely obliterated them. But if that were true, why would negotiations still be happening? Why would Iran still be considered a nuclear threat? Because the strikes never happened. It's political theater. Statements designed for headlines rather than strategic accuracy. And the confusion doesn't stop there. Remember the announcement about hospital ships being sent to Greenland? Trump and Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry publicly claimed that the United States was deploying naval hospital ships to help the people of Greenland. The Pentagon quickly confirmed something surprising. No such order existed. The ships mentioned, the USNS Comfort and USNS Mercy, were both sitting in port undergoing maintenance. They weren't sailing anywhere. Once again, policy was being announced through social media before military leaders even heard about it. And that's becoming a pattern. Military officials contradicting presidential statements. Diplomats scrambling to explain unexpected claims. Allies confused about what American policy actually is. Meanwhile, America's diplomatic standing continues to weaken. France recently took an extraordinary step. They effectively froze out the US Ambassador from high-level government meetings. That ambassador, Charles Kushner, is not just a controversial political figure. He's a convicted felon who served time in federal prison before being pardoned by Trump. His criminal case included tax evasion and witness tampering. One of the most disturbing parts of the case involved a scheme where he hired a prostitute to set up his own relative in a blackmail operation. That's the man representing American diplomacy in Paris. France tolerated the appointment at first. But when Kushner began publicly criticizing French domestic politics, the government drew a line. Officials summoned him for an explanation. He refused to attend. The result? French leadership simply stopped meeting with him. A diplomatic embarrassment unlike anything seen in decades. And all of this forms a larger pattern. Trump announces policies that don't exist. Military leaders quietly correct the record. Allies distance themselves. And international partnerships begin shifting elsewhere. Trade alliances form without American participation. Security discussions happen without American input. Economic deals are signed that benefit everyone except American workers. This isn't just political disagreement. It's the slow erosion of global influence. For generations, American power wasn't just about military strength. It was about alliances, trust, cooperation. Those relationships took decades to build, and they can be destroyed far faster than they were created. That's the real danger unfolding right now. Because once countries reorganize their systems without you, it becomes incredibly difficult to reclaim that position. Trump believes tough talk and tariffs make America stronger. But the rest of the world is adapting. They're building alternatives. They're preparing for a future where American leadership is no longer guaranteed. And the most alarming part of all, Trump appears to believe everything is going perfectly, that the strategy is working, that the isolation is actually strength. But outside the echo chamber of political messaging, a different reality is emerging. A world that is slowly learning how to move forward without the United States at the center. And if that transformation continues, historians may look back at this moment as the point where the balance of global power quietly began to shift. Not with a dramatic war, not with a single catastrophic decision, but with a series of smaller choices that slowly pushed allies away, weakened partnerships, and convinced the world to start building something new. Something that doesn't rely on Washington anymore. And by the time American leaders finally recognize what has been lost, the new global order may already be in place.